All right, Jeremy Hazel here from 7 Seasons Studios, and if you like what you see and you want more, this comes from our class, The Ultimate Guide to Mockups in Affinity Photo and Photoshop, which is available in the subscription plan at the link below. So if you like what you see and you want more, click on the link below to check out how you can get all of our content for one low monthly price. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, folks, welcome back to Affinity Photo. So in this lecture, we're going to show you how to do a brand stationary style flat lay mockup. And we're going to be using a lot of the assets that we've made in other areas of this course. So those are all in your section downloads. But the thing that makes this unique, I'm going to show you how to make the iPad using vector. And we're going to begin from the bottom up. Usually in the mockups that we've done, we've started with the top image and we've composited from the top down. Now we're going to go from the bottom up. So we're literally starting from the bottom. Let's go ahead and start with the most basic. Let's go to File, New. And I want to start with the iPad. So I'm going to go to Presets. I'm going to go to the 12.9-inch iPad. And I'm going to keep the DPI at 144. Notice how this is in points. I want to make sure we're in pixels. So 27 by 20. Let's go ahead and drop this down to maybe, no, that'll work. And let's go ahead and make sure the orientation is not landscape, but portrait. All right, cool. Now we're going to start with the embedded layer. Come over to your rectangle. Notice my snapping is on. And we're going to pull a rectangle. Now let's make it blue. Why? Because all of my embedded images are blue. All right, that's good. Let's go File, Save As, and call this Embedded Layer for iPad Screen. Just like that. All right, that's the end of the screen. Notice we started at the bare bottom. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to File, New. Let's stick with the iPad. We're going to go ahead and we're going to change it into pixels. And we're going to create. All right, now I forgot to change it to portrait. I did that on purpose. Come over to Document, rotate it 90. Now you're ready to rock. All right, let's drag in our rectangle, just like this. And now an iPad has round corners, so come up to your context toolbar, click on rounded. Now, not quite that round, right? Make it realistic, make it believable, just a little bit of roundness there. All right. Now, once you've got that with your move tool, let's go ahead and hold shift, and let's shrink this down just slightly. The reason I want to shrink it down just slightly, I want to hold the aspect ratio, but I want a little bit of border here. This is going to be the iPad. Okay, now we're going to fill this with a certain color, but we're going to do it a certain way. We're going to treat this rectangle like a shape, so I'm not going to have the fill in the rectangle. I'm going to create a pixel layer. I'm going to drag the pixel layer inside of the rectangle. I'm going to call this base color. Okay, now I'm going to go with a black iPad. So let's go ahead and go to color, grab black. Now I'm going to go slightly off black. Notice where I am right here in the color wheel. And the reason for that is I want to make sure that I have some room for the shadows. Okay. And once you do that, boom, there's your base color. Now, if you paid attention to the iPad has a subtle halo on it, right? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to create this halo. Go to the rounded rectangle, go to the effects, and on the effects, click an inner glow. Now, you see what's happening here? You see the inner glow? Crank up the intensity and crank down the opacity. Okay. Now you see the subtle shift that's occurring. We can crank up the intensity a little bit more if you want. I'm going to go ahead now and reduce the radius. All right. So there's my settings. Screen, 23%, 17 pixels, 94%. And close. All right. So now we want to make this base color adjustable. So let's go hue, saturation, lightness. And let's attach it to the base color. All right. Perfect. So now we can change the base color up and it won't matter. So you can adjust the lightness. You could adjust the saturation if you so wanted. Pretty much iPads come in very, very few colors. So the good news is you really only have to adjust the lightness. Now notice when you went to white, if you wanted that little halo, you may have to adjust it even more. All right, so we've got our base image. We've got our base color. Now we're going to go ahead and pull in the screen. Let's place. Remember the embedded layer for the iPad screen. Bring that in. Center that up. Now it's not quite center, right? You guys know that the iPad has a little bit more room down at the bottom. Let's make that button. Okay. So we're going to come down here. We're going to slide down. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make that button. We're going to come down to the ellipse tool. We're going to hold shift just like that. And now we're going to center that up just like that. And now we're going to do the same thing we did before, right? Where's my ellipse? Go to effects. Go to the inner glow. Go to radius. Now, why didn't that show up? Well, because we didn't have a fill on it. Hey, look, now it shows up. Let's go ahead and drop that radius back down. Drop the intensity back down. All right. Now, what I will probably do also, I'll throw an outer shadow in which I move the radius out, increase the intensity. All right. Perfect. Now, with this, we're also going to put an HSL adjustment on it. Because as you now adjust the overall intensity of the image, you're going to go ahead and you're going to have to adjust the intensity of this button. So we now have the button. Let's go ahead and name it as such. And then also up here, we're going to have a very small hole. Hold shift. Now you're going to have to zoom in for this one. And we're just going to leave this one as solid black. Ooh. All right. So we're pretty good here. Now, the thing that I want to do to check this, let's check it. Embedded layer, double click. Bring in any old image. Now, what I've included, because I know where we're going with this mockup, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to file, place. I've put in a website image. I call it the iPad image here. This is in your downloads. This is what we'll be using in the mockup. So I've brought this in. Let's go ahead and see what happens to the iPad. Boom. Just like that. Awesome. In the next lecture, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some reflections into both the iPad and the iPad screen so that we get a believable look. All right, folks, we'll see you in the next one.